When Ahrefs met apocalypse. How SEO, superdogs, and a fake tsunami defined July 2025. In the summer of 2025, when algorithms ruled harder than monarchs and content managers were more anxious than diplomats, the world didn't end, but it sure felt like it did, at least for the SEO industry. This is the untold story of how a tool named Ahrefs, a viral hoax, a pack of super-intelligent dogs, and the collapse of digital sanity collided in a month so cursed it made Mercury retrograde look like a spa weekend. The ranking collapse begins. It started with a whisper, or rather, with a line in Google's July 1st transparency update that read: "We are experimenting with removing all domain authority metrics from ranking behavior to favor behavioral signals derived from predictive neural intention mapping, PNIM." No one knew what PNIM was, but it sounded terrifying. And more importantly, Ahrefs, the beloved SEO tool worshipped for its domain rating, DR, and backlink index, suddenly became useless. DRs across the internet began to flatline. High-traffic sites like Health Today and CryptoDad.blog saw their DR plummet from 91 to 4 overnight. SEO Twitter imploded. One user screamed, "It's like watching the sun set and realizing it's never coming back." Backlink Daddy 89. Ahrefs CEO released a 42-minute video titled, "We will not be silenced, even if Google kills us." No one watched past minute 6. 2. The rise of the superdogs. Meanwhile, in Hokkaido, Japan, something strange was happening. A biotech startup, GeneFetch, had successfully engineered superdogs, Labrador retrievers with hyper-enhanced cognition, capable of reading basic language, detecting sarcasm, and allegedly identifying low-quality content better than AI classifiers. These dogs were initially meant to be therapy companions for overwhelmed digital marketers. But when one of them accidentally flagged and deleted a popular recipe blog for keyword cannibalism, chaos ensued. By July 14, a rogue pack of superdogs, now known online as the Fetch Liberation Front, FLF, had escaped their compound. The dogs began wandering major cities, urinating on content farms and barking violently at clickbait thumbnails. They were hailed as heroes by content purists and neo-Luddite bloggers, who began tattooing paw prints over their hearts. 3. The fake tsunami that broke everything. It could have ended there. It should have. But then came the fake tsunami. The calm before the keyword spike extended. In the beginning, there was traffic. Web traffic. In the air-conditioned marketing war rooms of global brands and boutique agencies alike, SEO specialists gazed into the glowing screens of their dashboards with a quiet reverence. Ahrefs, Semrush, and Demand Sage performed their ceaseless calculations, tracking backlinks, domain ratings, and keyword volumes with the cold precision of machines blissfully indifferent to the human dramas unfolding beyond fiber optic cables. Then, one seemingly ordinary July morning in 2025, everything changed. The keyword, "adopt dog near me," exploded overnight, shooting up 500% in search volume. Marketers blinked. Algorithms hiccuped. Slack channels erupted into frenzied speculation. Did TikTok start a dog adoption challenge? Is there a secret government puppy giveaway program? Should we build a content silo around puppy kryptonite? None of the usual traffic patterns could explain this surge. The answer? Enter Krypto, not just a cute pup, but a bona fide superdog celebrity. The latest Superman reboot didn't just reimagine Clark Kent, it introduced a four-legged hero whose bark was more powerful than a bazooka and whose tail wag could summon a tornado of goodwill. Within days, Krypto memes flooded every corner of the internet. Google searches weren't just about adopting dogs near me, they included how to train a superdog, Superdog Cape DIY, and Puppy Justice League. People stopped talking about Black Friday deals and crypto crashes, they were busy renaming their pets Clark Ruff and arguing on Reddit whether Krypto could beat Batman's Bathound in a fight. Even pet supply companies scrambled, uploading SEO-optimized blog posts and videos to cash in on the frenzy. Top 10 Superdog Accessories, Can Your Dog Save the World? And Why Your Labrador Deserves a Cape, trended alongside serious world news for the first time in internet history. It was the calm before the storm, the moment before the SEO apocalypse descended, where digital marketers realized their precious keyword strategies were about to be shaken by more than just algorithm updates. It was about to be a reckoning of mythic proportions, with superdogs, fake tsunamis, and the collapse of what we once thought was stable web traffic. The calm before the keyword spike extended. In the beginning, there was traffic. Web traffic. In the air-conditioned marketing war rooms of global brands and boutique agencies alike, SEO specialists gazed into the glowing screens of their dashboards with a quiet reverence. Ahrefs, Semrush, and Demand Sage performed their ceaseless calculations, tracking backlinks, domain ratings, and keyword volumes with the cold precision of machines blissfully indifferent to the human dramas unfolding beyond fiber optic cables. Then, one seemingly ordinary July morning in 2025, everything changed. The keyword, "adopt dog near me," exploded overnight, shooting up 500% in search volume. Marketers blinked. Algorithms hiccuped. Slack channels erupted into frenzied speculation. Did TikTok start a dog adoption challenge? Is there a secret government puppy giveaway program? Should we build a content silo around puppy kryptonite? None of the usual traffic patterns could explain this surge. The answer? Enter Krypto, not just a cute pup, but a bona fide superdog celebrity. The latest Superman reboot didn't just reimagine Clark Kent, it introduced a four-legged hero whose bark was more powerful than a bazooka and whose tail wag could summon a tornado of goodwill. Within days, Krypto memes flooded every corner of the internet. Google searches weren't just about adopting dogs near me, they included how to train a superdog, Superdog Cape DIY, and Puppy Justice League. People stopped talking about Black Friday deals and crypto crashes. They were busy renaming their pets Clark Ruff and arguing on Reddit whether Krypto could beat Batman's Bathound in a fight. Even pet supply companies scrambled, uploading SEO-optimized blog posts and videos to cash in on the frenzy. Top 10 Superdog Accessories, Can Your Dog Save the World? And Why Your Labrador Deserves a Cape, trended alongside serious world news for the first time in internet history. It was the calm before the storm, the moment before the SEO apocalypse descended, where digital marketers realized their precious keyword strategies were about to be shaken by more than just algorithm updates. It was about to be a reckoning of mythic proportions, with superdogs, fake tsunamis, and the collapse of what we once thought was stable web traffic. Enter Doom, Manga Edition. While the world swooned over superdogs and Google's algorithms went wonkies, across the Pacific, an older, stranger fear was waking up. It began on an obscure Reddit thread titled, "This manga predicted the superquake of 2011. Now it says we're next." Screenshots of a single manga panel circulated like wildfire. It showed a calm seaside town with one haunting caption. July 5, 2025, the sea will rise and consume us all. The artist, Ryo Tatsuki, a little-known manga creator who had long since disappeared from public life. Conspiracy fans claimed she had predicted major disasters before, the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, the COVID-19 pandemic, even the brief return of MySpace in 2023. Now, her long-dormant prophecy was going viral for all the wrong reasons. TikTok creators layered dramatic violin over black and white panels, whispering theories between AI-glitched visuals of seismic maps. YouTube thumbnails screamed. Cyclone, did Ryo Tatsuki see the end? Water wave, manga tsunami countdown, 10 days left. Brain, she drew what? The Japan prophecy revealed. Hashtag July 5 tsunami trended globally by July 1. In Japan, the effects were immediate. Hotels from Sendai to Osaka reported cancellations. Foreign embassies issued bizarrely vague statements about elevated seismic curiosity. A few influencers staged dramatic farewell vlogs before catching flights out. Japanese Twitter responded with a mix of stoicism and sarcasm. One tweet read, "If the sea wants me, it can take me after I finish this bento." The Japan Meteorological Agency held a press conference on July 3. A stone-faced official stated, "There is no scientific basis for a July 5 tsunami. We advise the public to remain calm and consult real data, not graphic novels." It didn't help. Logic was helpless against virality. And then, someone, no one knows who, built a website. The doom site appears. The page appeared online at midnight, Tokyo time, on July 4. Its title, Rising Wave 2050. JP. It featured a full-screen NOAA-style tsunami map showing a glowing red wave curling toward Japan's coast. An animated countdown clock labeled Impact in 23 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. A cryptic footer. You were warned in 1999. This is the echo. The site looked real. Terrifyingly real. It was, of course, entirely fake, a beautifully rendered fusion of weather dashboard aesthetics, GPT-generated panic copy, and stolen CSS from actual disaster preparedness sites. But that didn't stop what happened next. Section 2, marked by dust, the postal ghosts of independence. As the ink dried on declarations and constitutions, and the world shifted from empires to fragile republics, the post roads of yesterday began to disappear, not with a crash, but with a quiet shuffling into obscurity. Once pulsing with hoofbeats, wheels, and whispered news, these routes became overgrown with scrub and silence. The newly drawn borders across former colonies and splintered nations left many of these trails straddling contested terrain. Postal stations once manned by loyal couriers were now abandoned or repurposed by new regimes. A former Spanish outpost in the high Andes became a Bolivian customs shack. A British mail depot in West Africa was overtaken by brush and rumors of spirits. The ghosts of independence were not just metaphorical. Locals whispered of spectral riders galloping across the savannah, of fading footprints in desert sands, of messages still being delivered in the dead of night by no one living. In Chile, a mountain village still hoists a flag every Tuesday, awaiting a postal rider who hasn't arrived in over 80 years. The past clings to these places like dust. Postmarks stamped in long-defunct currencies, letters sealed with vanished coats of arms, and milestones etched in forgotten languages remain as fragile testaments to what was. But memory, too, is a border, shifting, unreliable, and subject to the same erosion that reclaims every road. In the end, what remains is not just infrastructure, but the human yearning to connect across distance, even when the world has changed so much that the map no longer agrees. The moment revolutions succeed, something subtle but profound begins to unravel, the threads that once held the mundane together, the postal schedules, the stamps, the riders, start to fray. While generals marched and borders were redrawn in ink and blood, no one thought to ask what would become of the postmaster in a frontier village, or the rider who knew every ravine by heart, or the single wooden box nailed to a tamarind tree where news once arrived from faraway capitals. The old postal routes, once the lifeblood of empires, became ghosts in the dust. In some places, they were erased deliberately, symbols of colonial rule to be dismantled in favor of proud new bureaucracies. In others, they simply faded from disuse. New governments with fragile budgets and bigger problems left them to rot, outposts untended, roads left to flood, and way stations reclaimed by wind, jungle, or sand. What took their place was something stranger. A liminal world of half-memories and spectral infrastructure. In what is now Mali, elders recall a French postal rider who was said to continue his deliveries long after the colony declared independence. His horse was never seen, only the hoofprints in the morning sand. In Guatemala, a church was built over the ruins of a way station, but on certain humid evenings, villagers claimed to hear the low whistle of a mail guard calling out coded signals into the mist. Modern borders made a mockery of these ancient trails. A path that once carried a message from Manila to Vigan in 5 days now crosses 3 checkpoints, 2 customs offices, and an unofficial militia outpost. A letter that once rode from Cape Town to the Congo in the pouch of a single determined courier would now require passports, bribes, and digital signatures, and still might never arrive. Yet despite these obstacles, the need to communicate endured. And so the routes remained, not in practice, but in myth. In Bolivia, families speak of the Correo de los Muertos, the mail of the dead, carried by ancestors who still fulfill uncompleted deliveries. In India, stories circulate of train whistles heard at midnight, long after the last colonial postal train was decommissioned. Old envelopes have turned up with fresh postmarks and no explanation. These stories speak to something more than nostalgia. They are reminders that communication is never just about logistics, it is about trust. It is about believing that a message can pass through danger, wilderness, and time itself, and still arrive. The disappearance of the old posts didn't just mark the end of a logistical network, it marked the slow, collective forgetting of a shared geography. But not everything was lost. In dusty archives and rural memory, fragments survive. A rusted mail horn hanging in a pub in Guyana. A weather-worn postal milestone leaning against a wall in Ghana, now used as a seat by schoolchildren. A pouch of letters found sealed in wax, delivered a century too late to an address that no longer. The ghosts don't yield easily. Each recovered route seems to come with shadows, stories of betrayal, censorship, exile. A well-worn trail might link not only villages, but prisons and palaces. The mail it once carried was not always. Section 4, The Last Postrider. He was known only as Tomas. In the borderlands where Slovakia fades into mist and memory, there are still those who remember a man with leather boots, a satchel weathered to velvet, and a dog-eared notebook filled with names no one speaks anymore. They say he rode even after the rail lines came, even after the state decreed the trail closed. He had no pension, no master, no official rank, only his horse, a gray thing named Vera, and a promise made long ago to a man who had died before the ink could dry. Tomas's route traced the bones of an empire. From a shuttered way station in Lavoca, across the Tatras, through pine-dark valleys where wolves once walked beside messengers, to a checkpoint that had, by then, been forgotten by everyone but him. He didn't carry stamps. He didn't carry money. What he delivered were remnants, letters from long-dead relatives found behind drawers, packages without return addresses, pages of poems never mailed. It was said he never read a word of them, only felt the weight of each one and knew where it needed to go. Children ran after him. Old women wept when they saw him. Bureaucrats ignored him, which may have been a kind of grace. And slowly, the world forgot he existed. Until one winter, he didn't arrive. Vera was found grazing alone near an abandoned milepost. In her saddlebag was a small wooden box, wrapped in oilskin, containing 7 letters, each addressed in the same shaky hand. They bore dates ranging from 1897 to 1942. No stamps. Just names, most of them carved in stone now. Word of the discovery spread, first through villages, then to the capital, and finally across embassies and radio stations. Historians argued over his reality. Was he a myth stitched together from scraps of older writers? A folktale made modern? Or had he, as some suggested, stepped sideways in time, out of the archival margins and into the living world, briefly, to finish what history had interrupted? But in the village of Spisk Podredy, they built him a marker. Not a statue. Just a post, a splintered wooden beam with a rusted tin horn nailed near the top, and one word etched into the grain beneath. Still in transit. And there, travelers leave letters. Hundreds now, left in envelopes, in plastic bags, under stones. Some are addressed. Most are not. Some are prayers. Some are stories. One is simply a single sentence. If you read this, please remember we were here. In a way, Tomas never disappeared. He became a form of remembrance. The last postrider not because of chronology, but because of purpose. He rode not for government or gold, but for the sanctity of being heard. He rode because someone, somewhere, might still be waiting. And perhaps, in that echo, we all are. There are roads that don't end in destinations, only in silence. There are letters that don't arrive at doors, only at graves. There are voices that never echo back, but still we send them out. From the first knotted cord passed from hand to hand, to the wax-sealed missives galloping through imperial frontiers, the act of delivering a message has always been an act of faith. A person tears a piece of themselves into language, wraps it in paper or prayer, and sends it into the unknown. Across mountains, borders, wars, betrayals. Across time. Across forgetting. And somewhere along the way, sometimes days, sometimes centuries, that message either arrives or disappears. But the road remembers. The trail remembers. Even now, in an age where everything travels faster than thought and vanishes just as quickly, there are those who walk. Not because it's efficient. Not because it's necessary. But because the trail, however faint, still whispers something sacred. A shepherd in southern Jordan walks his flock along the Nabatean spice roads, humming a song he claims his grandfather heard from a Turkish courier. A woman in northern Mongolia rides a chestnut horse to deliver handmade letters to isolated Gur camps, letters written by children in Ulaanbaatar who have never seen stars without neon. In the highlands of Peru, a boy places stones in a row each morning to mark a path where no one walks anymore, because his grandmother told him that's where her grandfather waited for the mail. This is not nostalgia. This is ritual. This is refusal, to let go of the idea that distance can't be bridged by care. Because in every age, there is forgetting. Empires collapse, maps lie, and languages shift until they become strangers to the mouths that once spoke them. Names are lost to censuses, erased from records, or smudged by history's indifference. But the message, if it was sent with intention, sometimes survives, not in its words, perhaps, but in its echo. In the act of reaching. And there is power in that. There is power in unfinished things. In a letter never opened. In a road half buried. In the act of writing to someone you cannot reach, because some part of you believes, still, they might receive it. This is the faith of the last postwriters. They understood something we are only now beginning to remember, that the world is stitched not by borders, but by messages in motion. That we belong to one another not because of law or language, but because of the fragile, miraculous trust that someone will hear us. Even now, people build shrines on old routes. They mark them with stones, with paper cranes, with folded notes in glass bottles. Some leave messages no one will read, I'm sorry. We survived. Is anyone still out there? And in return, sometimes, the trail answers. A breeze that lifts the edge of a letter at just the right time. A traveler who finds what they weren't looking for. An old postal badge dug from the mud, its emblem worn but unmistakable. Prue. A full day of honey, side by side with the Hadzabe. 1. First light, 5:30 a.m., waking to wing beats. Dawn in the Lake Iasi Basin is violet blue and cold. The Hadzabe fires have burned low during the night, and all that remains are faint red coals in shallow ash pits. Long before the sun edges over the acacia tops, you hear the first click-toned whistles the bushmen trade with a feathered ally, the greater honey guide, indicator. Chick chick chee chee chee. That teasing chatter cuts through the hush and every hunter's head lifts. The bird is announcing it has found a hive, now it wants to hire humans to break it open. 2. The pact with a bird, 6:15 a.m., setting off. No written contract is older than this pact. The Hadzabe give the honey guide the wax and leftover comb, the bird gives the tribe calories they cannot reach without rope ladders or axes. A quick breakfast of baobab fruit pulp and a swig of smoky water from a goatskin bag, and the party of 4 men, 2 boys, and a grandmother, the clan historian, slips into the thorn scrub barefoot. Gear, a single stone-headed axe, 3 sinew-backed bows, a tinder pouch of dried grass, and little else. Navigation, entirely by ear. When the honey guide flits ahead it pauses on a branch, flutters its wings, and calls until the men catch up. If the humans dawdle, it sulks and disappears. 3. Trail craft, 7:30 a.m., reading invisible ink. While following the bird you learn to read an alphabet most outsiders never notice. Sign what it means. A fresh scratch spiraling a baobab trunk. Honey badger tried that hive last night, bees still angry. A damp ash ring at a tree's base. Another Hadzabe clan harvested here 3 days ago. A faint hum at ankle height. Wild apathy scouting new nest sites. The hunt is a moving classroom, children are quizzed in real time. Miss a clue and an uncle taps your shoulder, repeats the click-click for look again. 4. First harvest, 9:45 a.m., bees, smoke and stings. The honey guide finally circles a weather-cracked baobab. The hive entrance is a slit 8 m up. Fire, a boy twirls a hardwood drill in a soft baobab board, within 2 minutes a coal is tipped into dry fibrous bark. Smoke, bundled grass is lifted like a torch as a climber walks, the trunk using V-notches cut by ancestors decades earlier. Extraction, with the axe he pries off a honey-heavy plate of comb. Bees pour out like sparks. Stings are inevitable. The climber rubs ash onto welts but never curses. The Hadzabe tell children that angry words chase away the honey guide. On the ground everyone tears fist-sized gobs of comb, chewing wax, larvae, pollen, and sun-warmed honey in one sweet, protein-packed mouthful. A palmful is left on a branch for the bird, it darts down the instant the group steps back. 5. Midday interlude, 12:30 p.m. Shade, story and repair. Under a rock overhang the hunters nap. The grandmother plaits a bowstring of giraffe sinew while telling a myth. Long ago the bee fell in low.